In today's world of advanced electronics, stabilizers, gyroscopes, and artificial intelligence, riding a unicycle has become a feat achievable even by children. However, the journey of this unique one-wheeled vehicle was far from simple in its early days. The zenith of unicycle, motor wheel innovation occurred during the 1920s and 1930s, a time before the advent of electronic assistive technologies. These singular contraptions captivated the public's imagination, and futurists predicted they would revolutionize transportation. There was even an audacious proposal for a one-wheeled bus. Among the pioneers in this field was David Sislaga, founder of the Motorola Company. Originally an electrician, Sislaga crafted a prototype in 1923 and patented it in France in 1924. His patent delineated the core mechanics of his invention, including a tilt mechanism, steering wheel, 3 positioning rollers for the outer wheel, and a compact air-cooled engine. Several versions of Sislaga's invention were produced, all adhering to the basic blueprint. One model even boasted a diameter of 1.5 meters and featured a 175 engine paired with a 3-speed gearbox. Notably, it was the first unicycle design to incorporate steering, facilitated by the tilting mechanism of the wheel. A photograph from 1931 features a man named Gerds astride one of these unique vehicles. Contrary to popular belief, he is an owner rather than one of the original inventors. In 1932, engineer John Archibald Purves introduced his own creation, the Dynasphere. This model seemingly solved the stability issue by enlarging the wheel's width to accommodate both driver and passenger comfortably. However, the grim expression on Purves' face in promotional materials suggested that maneuverability still presented challenges. By 1935, it became evident that auxiliary support mechanisms were necessary for the unicycle's evolution. However, the future for the Dynaspheres has not come. The onset of World War II halted all experimental endeavors. Renewed interest in this quirky mode of transport emerged in Europe only in the 1950s, fueled once again by enthusiastic hobbyists. Interestingly, the Soviet Union also had its own cadre of unicycle aficionados. Thus, while the unicycle may be a curiosity today, it has a rich and complex history, filled with visionaries who dreamt of changing the way we move. Engineered on the whims of Hitler during the 1930s, the Scour Gustav was a monstrous piece of artillery conceived to demolish France's nearly impregnable Maginot Line. This elaborate French defense system was a marvel of military engineering for its era, boasting labyrinthine subterranean bunkers, state-of-the-art retractable turrets, and a complex array of infantry shelters, barricades, and high-caliber guns. The German Wehrmacht found this fortress-like construct to be an insurmountable obstacle, prompting Hitler to task the famed munitions giant, Krupp, with finding a solution. Erich Müller, a mastermind engineer at Krupp, crunched the numbers and determined that to shatter 7 meters of reinforced concrete or slice through a solid meter of steel armor, an artillery piece of unfathomable dimensions would be required. The intended behemoth would need a barrel diameter exceeding 80 centimeters and a staggering length of over 30 meters, a flagrant violation of Germany's restrictions under the Versailles Treaty, which capped artillery caliber at a mere 15 centimeters. Dubbed Scour Gustav or Fat Gustav, in homage to Gustav Krupp, the patriarch of the Krupp family, this colossus of a gun could lob shells that weighed an astounding 7 tons over distances up to 47 kilometers. When fully assembled, the contraption tipped the scales at a mind-boggling 1,350 tons. Hitler gave the nod of approval, and the mammoth artillery piece leaped from blueprint to reality in 1937. Alfred Krupp, keen to personally showcase the awe-inspiring firepower of the creation, invited Hitler to the Ruggenwald proving grounds in early 1941. As it turned out, the gun was so enormous and cumbersome that it had to be disassembled into multiple segments and hauled across 25 freight cars to its designated deployment site. A veritable army of 250 laborers toiled around the clock for nearly 3 days to reconstruct it. Weeks were spent laying tracks and constructing embankments, involving 2,500 to 4,000 workers in shifts that ran day and night. Ironically, the Scour Gustav missed its debut role. It was not yet operational when Germany invaded France. However, the rapid French capitulation rendered the supergun redundant for that campaign. The mammoth artillery piece first saw battle during the siege of Sevastopol, a key moment in Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Union. Following the capture of Sevastopol, the gargantuan 800mm Gustav set its sights on Leningrad. Yet, as the war's tides turned, the Germans took it upon themselves to destroy this Herculean weapon in 1945, lest it be captured by the Soviets. Its place in history remains, however, as the largest artillery piece ever deployed in combat. Buzz Aldrin, a name synonymous with space exploration, is a retired American astronaut, a trained engineer, and a former fighter pilot. Beyond his impressive list of titles and accomplishments, Aldrin has earned a unique place in history as the second person to set foot on the moon, right after Apollo 11 mission commander Neil Armstrong in 1969. But before his lunar adventure, he had already made history as a member of the 1966 Gemini 12 mission, where he performed 3 spacewalks. In a world before social media platforms and the modern selfie culture, Aldrin captured an image that has become iconic for all the right reasons, perhaps the world's first space selfie. This picture was snapped during the pioneering Gemini 12 voyage, orbiting the Earth at Solvana in 1966. He used an externally mounted camera to take what was initially supposed to be a photograph capturing a celestial view. However, Aldrin couldn't resist the opportunity to capture his own image with the Earth, a radiant blue sphere, as the awe-inspiring backdrop. Aldrin didn't know it then, but he was setting a precedent. He was the inaugural member of what would become a growing line of spacefarers capturing their own visages against the infinite backdrop of space. This gesture might seem trivial today, but in an era predating Instagram and Snapchat, it was groundbreaking. His successors in space exploration have carried on this tradition, each adding a unique twist to the methodology. Some astronauts have utilized the reflective visors of their colleagues' helmets as makeshift mirrors to capture these extraordinary self-portraits. These snapshots offer Earth's bound inhabitants a vicarious journey into the vast unknown. It's a way of sharing the wonder, the majesty, and perhaps the existential humbling that comes from viewing Earth from hundreds of thousands of miles away. In essence, the space selfie is more than just a photo. It's a philosophical gesture, a conversation starter, and a lens through which we can all view our fragile planet and our place in the expansive universe. Buzz Aldrin may have been the initiator, but the space selfie tradition he started is a gift that keeps on giving, continuously enriching our collective imagination and understanding of what lies beyond our blue planet. In 1948, the front pages of newspapers across America were dominated by a haunting image, a family putting their own children up for sale. It wasn't a morbid publicity stunt, it was a grim reality for Ray and Lucille Chalafox. Ray, a 40-year-old truck driver, had lost his job, plunging the family into months of financial strife and a relentless fear of eviction. Lucille, just 24 and expecting their 5th child, joined him in making an unthinkable choice born of sheer desperation. They decided to sell their children, believing perhaps that it would offer the kids a shot at a better life. The story triggered a tidal wave of public response. People reached out, offering financial aid, job opportunities, and even shelter. Yet, in a heart-wrenching twist, by 1950 all of their children had been sold, including Bedford, a newborn addition to the family. Among the children, a 7-year-old girl and her younger brother Milton were taken in by a farming couple, John and Ruth Soatman. Renamed Beverly and Kenneth, the siblings were subjected to a life of unremitting hardship. Far from experiencing an idyllic rural existence, they were forced to live in a barn and toil in the fields, subjected to physical and emotional abuse. Decades later, as a septuagenarian, Ray managed to reconnect with one of her siblings, Sue, thanks to the efforts of investigative journalists. Frail and in poor health, Sue could only communicate through writing. Yet the emotional reunion was palpable. Ray presented Sue with the dress she had been sold in, still in her possession, accompanied by a heart-wrenching note indicating it was her only personal belonging from their previous life. Bedford, on the other hand, found a more compassionate home, raised by the McDaniels, who, although strict, loved him dearly. Bedford's perspective on his birth mother was a magnanimous one. "We are all people. We all make mistakes," he said. "She may have been thinking about children, didn't want them to die. We shouldn't judge her."